Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto was adopted by Guy and fell for Kurenai? Please like, share and subscribe. Now let's start. It took just one day for Team 8 to arrive at the client's house. There they met Tazuna, his daughter Tsunami, and his grandson Inari. The only member of Team 7 to have even been scratched was Kakashi, who was laid up and suffering from electrical burns on his torso. Team 7, I am Yuhi Kurenai, my students you are familiar with. We are here to assist your team in preparing for Zabuza's return, as well as the battle that will take place when he does. Now, Hinata, do you have a salve for burns on you? Hinata nodded before rummaging through her pack, producing a jar filled with an orange paste. She had Kakashi's bandages taken off and began to gently layer the substance evenly over his injuries, shuddering at the extent of them. Alright, now what has Kakashi taught all of you? I need to know how we can help prepare you for the next battle. Kiba and Sakura replied with twin calls of teamwork before Sasuke elected to give his own answer. A Katanjutsu, a Dotonjutsu. And the fact that Kiba and the puppy aren't completely worthless. Team 8 looked shocked that Kakashi had so heavily favored Sasuke's teaching even though Sakura obviously needed the most help. They all just hoped it had been a situation like Naruto's with Kurenai, that Sasuke was the only one to ask for help. They didn't even know the surface clinging exercise? Well, Uchiha-san, guess that means your whole team will benefit greatly from training to master an individual exercise together, as having just 1 week until Kakashi recovers. Which means we can assume the same for Zabuza. Sasuke merely grunted again, not exactly excited to work with others. Kakashi at least had a Sharingan, meaning his teaching was worthwhile. In the end, Shino and Hinata elected to stay with the Tazuna and guard him, while Kurenai, Naruto, and Team 7 filed out of the home to the woods. All of you will be learning a chakra control exercise, this being surface clinging or tree walking, it is the same thing. You will channel chakra to your feet and use it to stick to the trees. This opens up a new facet for combat and allows better control once mastered. Naruto will demonstrate. Taking his cue, Naruto walked up the tree and onto the bottom of one of its middle branches. He waved at Team 7 from his new perch, smiling at the looks on their faces. This will build your chakra reserves and allow you to better harness them. One use of a jutsu becomes 2 or 3, in some cases. Before you begin, I recommend placing one foot on the tree and seeking a comfortable point in your chakra. If your foot begins to slip as you move up, you need to channel more. Likewise, if your foot begins to push you away from the tree, you need to use less. As Kurenai ended her lecture, Naruto handed the 3 of them kunai to mark their progress up the tree. A whopping 5 minutes later, Sakura had completed the exercise. Kurenai-sensei, look, I already made it to the top and back down. A proud smile graced her face. The first time she had likely been proud of anything she'd done since being passed and allowed on the team. Of course the smile wilted off her face as she saw the look that Sasuke gave her, obviously upset that he wasn't the first to make it up the tree. That's good, Sakura, now, you can either keep running up and down the tree 50 times, or I can teach you a genjutsu. Which would you rather do? The very suggestion of running up and down a tree 50 times caused Sakura to pale, and immediately I'll take the genjutsu, sensei. Kurenai nodded, but on the inside sighed, no wonder Kakashi has been focusing on teamwork. She didn't even consider that any genjutsu I can teach I already know and that I may have taught my own students. I really need to talk with Kakashi when he wakes up. Kurenai motioned for Sakura to follow her as Naruto continued to observe the training that Kiba and Sasuke continued. They both seem determined, but maybe I can raise the stakes a little. Hey guys, last one up the tree faces me in a taijutsu spar. Naruto smirked a little at their reaction. Even Sasuke wasn't arrogant enough to ever want to face him in pure taijutsu. With the flames of youth burning in their eyes, Naruto shedding macho tears when he noticed this, Kiba and Sasuke redoubled their efforts to make it up the tree. Hours later, just as the sun began to set, the 2 exhausted young shinobi both made it to the top of the tree at a dead tie. Naruto almost starting pouting as he noticed that, before a wondrous idea struck him. Well my friends, since it was a tie, tomorrow, the both of you will face me 2-on-1 in that spar. After all, neither of you won, but it wouldn't be fair if only one of you had to fight. And both at once is more convenient than one at a time. Naruto's bright smile was nearly enough to suppress the looks of sheer terror on the faces of the male genin from Team 7. As Naruto, Kurenai, and Team 7 returned to the house, they were shocked to see an awakened Kakashi sitting at the dining table, a book with an orange cover resting in his hands. The famous ninja turned his head as the group filed in, before giving a strained yo with an obviously pained eye smile. Of course, when he opened his eye and noticed Kurenai glaring at his book, the small amount of already pale skin around his eye paled further. And his book seemingly disappeared from one moment to the next. Kakashi-san, in respect to your current state, I will not do anything about your habits. Nor will I say anything about the lackluster training your genin have received. Kurenai's statement brought a relieved sigh from the injured sensei until she continued. Rest assured, however, that I will be making note of all of this in my report to the Hokage when this mission is complete. Your decision to focus on teamwork training is admirable, but a team of ninja with no more skill than civilians is a team that dies quickly. Kakashi hung his head, the speech having struck one of his nerves rather deeply. He knew that they should have learned more before they went through something like this, but he thought the dangers of a C rank, a real one, anyway, would be enough to show his team the need to get along. After they realized that they would need help, he would teach them real skills, but this mission was a disaster. All it had proven was that he had let his skills slip since he left ANBU, and that he needed training just as much as his genin did. The rest of the group gathered as Shino and Hinata came in escorting Tazuna. Sakura, however, was unable to take the overall silence of the dining room and focused on a minor detail across the room. Tazuna-san, what is that picture over there? The corner looks like it was torn. The old man gave a nostalgic smile, before in a proud voice he responded. That is a picture of my family, the ripped corner was my son-in-law Kaiza. He was the hero of Wave. Inari abruptly stood and left, stomping audibly up the stairs, to his room. Father, you know better than to talk about Kaiza in front of Inari. Tsunami followed this statement by rushing upstairs to check on her son. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause trouble. Sakura's expression clearly spoke of her regret and embarrassment. Tazuna just sighed, disappointed that even with Hope returning and Ninja here to help Inari had yet to show improvement. It isn't your fault, Inari was very close to Kaiza and admired him greatly. Kaiza saved Inari's life from drowning in an accident where some bullies that didn't know he couldn't swim at the time threw him in the water. After that, Kaiza became close to everyone here, practically a second father for Inari. About a year later, he dove into dangerous flood waters with some bracing for our damaged gates, and saved the whole village from flooding. He was named our hero afterwards, and enjoyed the love and respect of our whole village. But things weren't to last. Kaiza resisted that arrogant, fat, bastard Gato's takeover of our village. The Jounin and Genin with the exception of Sakura could already tell where this story was heading, and Naruto in particular grew a look of anger. Kaiza always used to say, if you care about something, if it's precious to you, wrap both your arms around and protect it, no matter what. Gato broke the village by having him executed publicly. In front of the whole town, including Inari, Kaiza had both of his arms cut off and was left to bleed out slowly. Since then, Inari gave up hope, which is why he is so aloof and treats you the way he does. Sakura was horrified at the end of the story, small tears leaving her eyes. The rest of the ninja were more angry than shocked, save Hinata who looked as though she was barely holding her own tears back, and Naruto, who looked outraged. Inari shouldn't sulk like this, he should feel honored to have known such an admirable man. That philosophy is something that many people could afford to adhere to. Everyone's gaze turned to the most unexpected voice that remarked, even Naruto's. Sasuke's face still had its usual scowl, but his eyes looked different, there was almost a gleam in them. You're right, Sasuke, better to honor the dead with your actions than cry tears to wash away their grave. It was by no means rare for Naruto and Sasuke to agree on things, being as the only person in the academy that Sasuke bore respect for as a student was Naruto. Due to his rapid rise when he was graded fairly, and his talent in every branch, Naruto earned Sasuke's respect, if not friendship by the 4th year in the academy. Many of Sasuke's fangirls also hated Naruto, as they thought he was trying to make their Sasuke-kun look bad, so sitting close to him in class got them to sit slightly further away from him. The next day dawned with the entirety of Team 7 ready to learn to water walk. Shino volunteered to supervise their training, while Kurenai and Hinata went out to guard Tazuna. Naruto elected to stay behind for some private training, as well as guarding Tazuna's family with Kage Bunshin. Before he left, however, he was stopped momentarily by Kakashi. Yo Naruto, wait just a minute before you leave, I want to talk to you about something. Naruto looked confusedly at the silver-haired man. Sure, this was his dad's eternal rival, but he had never spoken to him before. Yes, what did you want, Kakashi-sensei? While he hadn't actually learned anything from the man, he was officially a sensei for a genin team, so might as well show him proper respect. I have a scroll with a couple jutsu on them. Guy told me I would have to teach you a couple ninjutsu if I lost 3 challenges in a row with him, so here. Naruto gazed at the scrolls skeptically. Dad didn't say anything about this arrangement. Youthful desires of self-improvement defeated suspicion in the end, however, as Naruto accepted the scrolls along with a small slip of paper. Kakashi-sensei? Why is this paper mixed with the scrolls? Kakashi was mildly surprised that Guy hadn't introduced this concept to Naruto yet, but quickly recovered to his normal self. It's chakra paper, Naruto. It tells a shinobi what their elemental affinity is or what their affinities are. The affinities in order from top around clockwise are Katon, Futon, Raiton, Doton, and Suiton. These elements follow a pattern of defeating the element that follows them in a clockwise pattern. No matter what a person's affinity is, they can learn any jutsu, but it is easiest for a ninja to learn jutsu that align with their own element. This paper will burn if you have Katon, slice in two if you have Futon, crumple into a ball if you possess Raiton, harden and crumble if Doton, and soak if you have Suiton. Naruto brightened and immediately asked some questions to clarify. So what does it do if someone has an elemental Kekkei Genkai? Does it display that somehow, and what if someone has more than one affinity? Or is that even possible? Kakashi shook his head at the kid's excitable nature, almost laughing if it weren't for the fact that he knew that would cause unbearable pain in his burns. To answer, if an elemental Kekkei Genkai is present, the paper does nothing unless it has already awoken. If it has awoken, then the paper shows only the result of the new element and neither of its components. Naruto looked confused at that answer, but motioned for Kakashi to continue explaining, too interested in the rest to interrupt. Now, while it is possible for someone to be born with multiple elements, it is rare. The paper will show signs of both, but conflicting elements are uncommon to be inherited even more than just having multiple. Just channel some chakra through it and I'll tell you what the opening exercise of elemental mastery is for your element. I can give you some advice for any element, but Futon, it's the only one I haven't mastered. Naruto nodded before channeling a little chakra through the paper in his hand. It soaked his hand before being sliced in two. Futon and Suiton, you're lucky, Naruto. Futon is heavily offensive, while Suiton is arguably the most versatile of all, with many offensive and defensive techniques. For Futon, the exercise is to cut a leaf in half with nothing but your chakra. Suiton, on the other hand, you must be able to raise water under your hands until it reaches your shoulders. If you decide to do the mastery exercise now, I recommend Suiton, since I can give you a tip for it. Just imagine your chakra becoming cool and liquefying. Well, see you when you get back in. Naruto quickly decided that learning a technique would be faster than mastering either element, and as such looked at his scrolls. While there was one scroll for every element, he decided to focus and learn only the ones he was attuned to for now. So, after making guard clones and training clones, he opened the scrolls for Suiton and Futon. Of the two techniques, one was the C-rank Futon, Daitapa, and the other was a B-rank, Suiton, Suijin Hiki. Naruto elected to learn both simultaneously, with 30 clones working on each. Of course, Naruto's chakra control and natural learning rate were both above average. Compounding his progress with the clones was enough to let him master both in just a day. About 20 minutes before dinner, in fact. Kurenai, Shino, and Naruto exchanged information on what had happened between them. Sakura had finished water walking as an exercise and learned enough from continued practice to utilize the technique Kurenai taught her. While Sasuke and Kiba were both heavily worn out from the successive days of harsh training, and their spar with Naruto was the next day. The table was peaceful once again at the beginning of this meal, but it would be shattered once again. This time it was Inari that ruined a perfectly adequate meal. Why are you trying so hard? Gato will kill you, none of you can match his power. Kiba was the one to respond first this time, a bestial growl escaping him. Listen, you little brat, not only is Gato pathetically weak compared to any ninja, but there are 2 Jounin here. The only threat we face is Zabuza and his accomplice. Shut up. You don't know what it's like to have a hard life, you've all been spoiled living in your big, cushy ninja villages. There is no way to beat him, or for you to understand me. Inari's newest statement was enough to stir Naruto into discussing exactly who didn't understand who. You are absolutely pathetic. Kaiza must be rolling in his grave with the way you act. Shocked silence was the response to the normally happy and youthful Genin's remarks, before he continued his mounting tirade. You want to know what life is like for us? Let's start with Hinata, who has been treated as though she is worthless by most of her own family. Or Shino, whose entire clan are barely allowed to live in the village limits because of the bugs they raise inside of them. I was kicked out of the orphanage I lived in when I was 6, spent 3 months homeless, and even today I am either ignored or treated like trash by the vast majority of the populace. Inari was crying again already, and made a move to leave, before Naruto blocked him by jumping onto the stairs. Here is the real kicker though, Sasuke's entire clan was murdered by his beloved older brother. He even waited to kill their parents until Sasuke was close enough to hear them scream. You lost your father figure, but you still have a family that loves you, and provides for you. Judge, not lest you be judged, and you have been judged a crybaby, and a coward. Naruto punctuated the end of his rant by slamming the front door on his way out of the house. Both Kakashi and Kurenai turned heated glares on Inari, one for their nephew, as Kakashi thought, and the other for their closest student. Not one word of that was a lie. Naruto considers himself lucky for being taken in off the street, but he still has to deal with prejudice and pain every day. Kurenai was the one who spoke. Before leaving the table to go to the room she shared with Sakura and Hinata. Kakashi didn't even say a word, he just turned away before he tore the boy down anymore. Unable to take the gazes of the remaining ninja on him, Inari fled to his room, trying to understand how these people could live lives like they had and still maintain hope. A knock at his door roused his attention, before a soft voice spoke to him through the door. I'm sorry that Naruto-kun responded like that, but it's hard for him to look at you when you have people like your grandfather risking their lives to make yours better. And for you to insult their effort by saying they're doomed to fail. None of our lives have been easy, but that doesn't mean that we should give in and die. Life is like a chisel, it is used to chip away at the perfect block we all start as, and shape us through trial and error into something even more incredible. Meanwhile, Naruto was standing in the clearing that the tree climbing training was done in, practicing his jutsu and sparring with a group of clones. The trees, bearing kunai marks from where Kiba and Sasuke practiced had long ago had these scars covered by others. Naruto's anger influencing him in using the last technique his father had been teaching him. After one severely overcharged futon, Daitapa, all his clones were destroyed and he was passed out on the ground. His father had been telling the truth about the technique being a double-edged sword, his control absolutely shot while it was active. Hours later, with birds chirping and sun shining, Naruto awoke. A rather feminine face in his field of vision walking toward him. It stopped however, when it saw he was awake. My eyes say woman, but my gut says guy. Oh well, might as well mingle with some of the populace I have yet to meet. Hey there, did you need something? The figure looked at Naruto before their eyes fell on his hapori. Recognizing the mark on its surface. He wasn't with the ninja we saw earlier, reinforcements? I have to warn Zabuza-sama. Oh, I just came here to pick herbs for my father, he is very sick. Haku went straight for his best act, the worried child. He had been using this for Zabuza for a long time, and was one of the best at it. But why are you out here, and is that a ninja headband? It looks different than the ones I saw in town. Naruto looked at the boy, as he had decided to go with his gut on this one, curiously. No one mentioned meeting someone that dressed like that in town, or any effeminate-looking boys, so how did he see them without being seen himself? I was here to train. But I overdid it a little. What did the headbands you saw in town look like? Did they have a different symbol from mine? Haku made sure not to react to the question, obviously this one was smarter than he had assumed. No, they were just shaped differently, and the ninja wearing them were carrying a wounded man on their shoulders. Oh, he saw Team 7, that's why my team didn't say anything. Alright. Would you like some help picking those herbs you mentioned? No reason not to be polite, Naruto thought, might as well help before he went in. Thank you, they look like this. Haku raised one of the herbs in his basket, glad that he had help in assisting Zabuza. About an hour after they met, the two picking herbs were disturbed by a voice whose owner was just inside the edge of the clearing. There you are Naruto, come on, sensei was getting worried about you. Hinata looked from Naruto to the boy he was gathering herbs with. Hinata blushed slightly looking at him, thinking him more attractive than any boy she had met in Konoha. It seems you are needed elsewhere Naruto-san, thank you for helping me. Naruto got up and dusted his hands, before nodding to his new acquaintance. Before I go, could you tell us your name? After furrowing his lip for a few seconds, Haku nodded. Alright, my name is Haku, and before you ask since so many people do, I am a girl. Many people think I'm a boy for some reason, I'm not sure why though. The two thoughts running through the genins' heads were shocked. What? I was sure it was a guy, no matter what my eyes and ears told me. Were Naruto's thoughts, while Hinata was going through a crisis of awareness. I've never been as attracted to anyone as I was her. Wait, does that mean I swing that way? What would father say if he found out? Hinata decided to activate her Byakugan to make sure she wasn't the butt of someone's strange idea of a joke. Leaving the two thoroughly confused genin, Haku turned around and left, not noticing Hinata activate her Byakugan on focus on her just to see if she was telling the truth. Oh, all of the kami above, she is a girl. Wait, I recognize those herbs, I was them in my burn paste. Oh no. That was Zabuza's accomplice. We have to report this quickly. Come on, Naruto, we have to report what just happened. Alright Hinata-chan, and I'm sorry I just left last night, I needed to blow off some steam. Naruto hadn't stopped to think about how worried everyone would be, and felt a little guilty for leaving. That's alright, Naruto, thanks to you, we just found Zabuza's accomplice. Naruto started at Hinata's words, before remembering that the herbs they had been picking had orange insides. Like the paste Hinata used on Kakashi. When the two returned, Kakashi and Kurenai were both still inside, Shino and Sakura guarding the bridge, while Kiba and Sasuke made plans for their fight against Naruto. Kurenai-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, we just met Zabuza's accomplice. She makes medical salves like I do, so it'll only be 2 more days before he is fully recovered. Kurenai and Kakashi both turned in shock, seeing that neither student was harmed confused the two. If you met his accomplice, why aren't you hurt, where is she? Naruto answered this time, we didn't realize it was his accomplice until right when we left. I woke up after training and she was gathering herbs. She said it was for her sick dad and I helped her. Hinata took up the conversation from that point. I recognized the herbs after we turned around though, they were the same ones I use in my burn paste. Kakashi took command as the most experienced jounin, quickly giving out his orders. Today is the last day of training, tomorrow we will all rest. Naruto, send a clone out tomorrow with Tazuna so we have a fast way to find out if Zabuza will attack at less than 100% the next day. Everyone will go to the bridge and Naruto will leave clones here to protect the family. We will let Shino and Sakura know when they get back. Everyone obeyed the one-time ANBU captain, before Kiba and Sasuke grabbed Naruto and let him out for their spar. We both know you are the best at taijutsu among us, but we are teammates. 2-on-1, you won't win. Naruto paused after hearing their unified statement before wondering exactly when they started getting along. He shrugged the thought off, before taking his opening stance, standing perfectly straight with one hand behind his back and the other palm facing himself in front of his body. Kiba and Sasuke separated slightly before going into their own stances, knowing since it was going to be the big showdown soon, no one would go all out. Kurenai volunteered to supervise/referee the match, so after everyone took position, they launched at each other with a cry of Hajime. Kiba went first, dashing straight at Naruto before launching a spinning elbow toward the sternum of the blonde. Naruto blocked the blow by raising the knee of his forward foot, immediately countering with a blazing fast jab at Kiba's chin. Kiba was struck with just enough force to stumble back awkwardly, Sasuke launching a kick at Naruto's legs in attempt to trip him. Naruto simply launched into a forward somersault/axe kick that was interrupted by Kiba pulling on Sasuke's shoulders, removing him from danger. A stare-down commenced as Sasuke and Kiba tried to figure out how to beat Naruto, knowing that if jutsu were allowed Akamaru and Kiba would both be able to fight, and with greater speed and ferocity. Sasuke changed his stance to the interceptor fist, hoping to bait Naruto into the first move, knowing Naruto primarily opened with kicks. The move worked, Naruto launching himself at Sasuke and lashing out with a straight thrust kick to the gut. Sasuke grabbed the kick he had predicted and held him still. Kiba took advantage of the idle target to try for a knife hand at his unprotected back. A smirk appeared on Naruto's face however, as he bent backwards and did a handspring off Kiba's shoulders, causing the two to run into each other. A growl from Kiba and grunt from Sasuke occurred as they faced their opponent yet again. Naruto attacked once more, this time shouting his attack's name. Konoha Senpu. The twirling kick attack took Kiba by surprise and knocked him out of the circle drawn for the spar. Sasuke focused more heavily on Naruto, determined to get at least one hit on the superior taijutsu user. Naruto's gaze faltered and became disbelieving, his stance faltering slightly. Sasuke took advantage and rushed in with a powerful straight, clipping Naruto as he began to right himself. Naruto dashed under Sasuke after recovering, stopping the counter kick Sasuke launched with one hand and uppercutting him with the other. Sasuke flew outside the circle, same as Kiba had, bruised but still conscious. Sasuke, your eyes, came a shout from Kiba, who had gone to pick up his teammate. What? What about them? Kurenai walked forward and handed Sasuke a mirror, allowing him to look for himself. The Sharingan. Sasuke let an odd whisper out, amazed by the eyes with a single spinning tomo and red irises. Finally, now that I've unlocked the Sharingan, I'm one step closer to beating him. A wide smile broke out on his face, one mirrored by a minor extent to all present, glad that such a useful tool was resurfacing. Naruto heard the quiet echo of a growl in his head, showing that not everyone was pleased. Later the night before the attack was expected, while Naruto was keeping watch, he thought back to the growl he had heard when Sasuke's eyes awoke. The Kyuubi has been satisfied ignoring everything that happens around me so far, why would the Sharingan bother it so much? I mean, the only Uchiha ever able to control it was Madara. And I doubt that either Sasuke or even Itachi will ever have the strength and prowess he did. A louder growl than after the fight began to build, wrenching Naruto's attention away from his own thoughts. He sighed and made another watch clone, before closing his eyes and focusing on the demon within him. When he opened his eyes, he was in his mindscape, complete with a massive Hokage monument and a brightly glowing sun. Instead of the rest of the village, however, was a giant red cage with a rage-filled demon inhabiting it. Well, Fox? You've been trying to get my attention, what did you want to say? Many would be shocked at his casual disregard for the giant, nearly unstoppable beast in front of him, but he had known for years. And while this was only his second time in here, he already knew the Kyuubi couldn't do anything to him. It isn't wise to act so blaze with me, mortal. I may not be able to affect you right now, but I could always destroy your home after you die. A smirk had developed on the Kyuubi's face, thoughts of freedom and destruction often did that to him. So why does Sasuke's new Sharingan bother you? Only Madara was ever strong enough to control you, and Sasuke is no Madara. The Kyuubi's smirk shrunk into a near grimace at the memory. Being controlled by Madara had led to his current position, and he was not fond of the experience. First, stop bringing up that stain on history. Second, I have decided in my infinite wisdom that Sharingan wielders are untrustworthy thieves. You are stronger than a vast majority of shinobi your age, but you aren't strong enough. Should he betray you, or your life be threatened in the coming battle, I have generously decided that you may use some of my power to make up for your shortcomings. Naruto's jaw dropped in shock. The Kyuubi was being an arrogant ass, but still considerably nicer than he expected. After learning about his status as a Jinchuriki, Naruto read up and learned that most of them used the power of their burden when in combat. He had tried and eventually succeeded in contacting the demon, before being blown off for being too weak to ever use its power. Apparently, the training he had been doing was acceptable to the Fox's standards of a strong container. Despite it insulting him anyway. I thought you said I would never be worthy of fighting with your power, and that I was too weak in every way to handle it? A short huff of disdain met Naruto's question. Before the Kyuubi spoke once more. You aren't worthy of my power, and it's only thanks to your insane guardian's training that your body will be able to handle my power. As your strength and durability have risen enough to access a cloak made of my chakra, with just one tail. Anymore, and not only will your body be badly burned, your mind will snap and I will take over. Naruto stared at the grinning demon, wondering why it told him it could take control when he used too much. Thank you, I promise I won't use your power unless all other options I have fail. A short bow of gratitude punctuated the statement, before Naruto left his seal. I almost don't hate this one. Of course he looks like his damned many times over, in this case literally, father. There were worse options, at least I wasn't stuck inside an Uchiha. Snort, keep getting stronger mortal, you just might be the one. The grand beast's thoughts strayed to the past once more, this time memories of better days going through its head. Naruto came out of his mindscape just in time to smell breakfast being made, signaling he had spent nearly 4 hours of real time in the trance-like state. He stood and stretched the kinks that had developed in his muscles out, a few satisfying pops coming when he flexed his back. He went inside to see the entire group gathered at the table, worry evident on the genin's faces. Kurenai and Kakashi were both composed, but Naruto could tell that his sensei was worried as well, most likely about his team. Naruto, you know today's plan, right? The blonde looked to Kakashi before nodding, making a group of 10 clones and setting them up around the house. Now that Tazuna's family has their own protection, let's go to the bridge. Zabuza will most likely be there, as will this Haku Naruto and Hinata told us of. She is apparently trained medically, so most likely means of attack are senbons and poisons. Kurenai and I will handle Zabuza, you all will protect Tazuna and distract his accomplice until our fight is finished. A unanimous nod from the genin and breakfast was devoured in silence. The assembled team stood, Tazuna soon after. Hinata stood at Tazuna's back, with Sasuke in front of him. Kiba and Shino flanked him, while Sakura stood to Sasuke's left. Naruto stood at Sasuke's right, the two sensei leading the troop through town. When they reached the bridge, the workers were all sprawled on the ground, most appeared to be unconscious. Tazuna nearly froze in terror, before one of the builders looked up, bleeding and close to unconsciousness. Run, Tazuna. Attacked. The heavily injured man collapsed into darkness, unable to maintain awareness any longer. A mist rolled onto the bridge, bringing the group's guard up even higher. Instead of the rough tone that Team 7 expected, having been the only group to face Zabuza already, a bone-chilling laugh resounded through the fog. Hinata, having activated her Byakugan, realized that something had happened. Sensei, there's 3 fighters in the fog, not 2. Kakashi paled slightly, the laughter combined with the fog and Zabuza's known former associates led him to just one conclusion. Naruto, help me with this fog. Kakashi and Naruto went through hand seals mirroring each other, before letting out a twin shout of Futon, de Tapa. The already forceful attack grew as it was fired in tandem, sending hurricane force winds into the mist. With such power, the swordsmen holding the mist released control of their jutsu, it draining too much chakra fighting the winds. As the bridge cleared, 3 distinct figures were revealed to all the non-Hyuga at the other side. Kakashi and Kurenai turned to one another, their plan not accounting for the extra player. On the nearly complete bridge stood Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist, his Kubikiri Bocho at his side. To his right was a shorter, more slender person with dark hair and a hunter-nin mask, Zabuza's original accomplice, Haku. On his left, however, stood someone just as intimidating as the eyebrowless warrior. A tall, thin blonde with a mask similar to Haku's stood, twirling his long, needle-shaped sword around his fingers. Kuriraire Kushimaru, one of the strongest and most ruthless ninja ever produced by Kirigakure. He wielded the Nuabari, a sword that worked as a giant sewing needle. He favored the silent killing technique like Zabuza, but was an expert in kenjutsu even without it. Among his many evil deeds was the murder of his own sensei, and he had left the village even before Zabuza's failed coup. His favorite method of murder was to crucify his victims with the wire attached to his sword. What is this, Zabuza? Willing to align yourself with that psychotic sadist just to better do Gato's bidding? Kakashi's frustration was evident, he didn't even think that Kushimaru was still alive. I called back up probably the same time you did. If I have to resort to a lunatic like him, consider it your fault for escaping last time. The same high-pitched grating laughter as earlier came once more. It even still echoed around them, given all the empty space. My mental state notwithstanding, you should show a little respect to your senpai Zabuza, after all. You did have to get me to bail you out of your trouble here. Irritation briefly flashed in Zabuza's eyes, before he turned his glare back on the Konoha shinobi. Alright, one chance to give up, before you're either spit in two or crucified. The killing intent released with the statement left Sasuke's hands shaking and Sakura shivering in dread. See, Kakashi, the boy is still shaking. Even though it couldn't be seen, the smirk could be heard in Zabuza's voice. I'm excitement. Sasuke lowered himself into a stance, kunai drawn in his right hand. The shout was taken as the sign to begin, Kakashi squaring off mano a mano with Zabuza, Kiba, Sasuke, and Akamaru against Haku, and Naruto and Kurenai against Kushimaru. Shino, Hinata, and Sakura remaining with Tazuna in case one of their assailants made it past the front line. Kiba activated his Shikyaku no Jutsu, and Sasuke his Sharingan as they closed in on the masked girl. Akamaru, Jujin Bunshin. A puff of smoke surrounding his dog, and now there were 2 Kibas, both dashing at top speed to take out the fast Kunoichi. Getsuga. 2 whirling dervishes of clawed death spun their way to the enemy, who was forced to jump in effort to dodge, but Sasuke had seen that coming, and made 6 hand seals. Katan, Gukaki no Jutsu. A gout of flames rushed from Sasuke's mouth to his Kunoichi target, a cloud of smoke appearing when it reached her. When the cloud cleared, however, there was only a mirror of ice where his target had been, reflecting her faceless image back at him. Your eyes and his wild attacks are making this troublesome, forgive me, but now I will go all out as well. Water vapor in the air gathered into a dome around the 2 hot-headed genin. Before the temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. Hayatan Hijitsu, Makyu Hayushu. The water vapor that had surrounded Sasuke and Kiba froze into mirrors like the one Haku was hiding in, forming a dome-shaped prison around the 2. This is my ultimate, inescapable technique, surrender, before I'm forced to kill you. Kiba and Sasuke exchanged a glance, before nodding and setting themselves up back to back. Akamaru joining and forming a triangle formation. We won't ever surrender to a criminal like you. Sasuke, let's do this. The battle between Zabuza and Kakashi raged on another section of the bridge, all of the missing means techniques being immediately used against him. Something isn't right, the Sharingan allows him to copy ninjutsu. But he is performing all my techniques in tandem with me. Zabuza struggled against the desire to end this fight fast using his strongest jutsu, and instead moved to close in with his giant blade. Kakashi was glad that he was so practiced in hiding his emotions, otherwise the shock that Zabuza had unconsciously resisted his hypnotic suggestion would likely put him on the chopping block. Seeing the massive sword closing in, Kakashi made a split-second decision to unveil something he had avoided using for years. A smoke cloud shrouded his right hand temporarily, stalling Zabuza. When it dispersed, it revealed a weapon that Kakashi had not been known to carry in the bingo books. A gleaming white tanto that practically glowed with chakra was held in a forward grip, almost proud to be used once more. The white light chakra saber of Hatake Sakumo, legendary white fan of Konoha. Desperate enough to beg your father's spirit to help you, Kakashi? In spite of the taunt, Zabuza was wary of the blade, it focused, sharpened, and purified chakra sent into it by the wielder, which gave it the white glow. Even someone a complete amateur with a tanto could use its abilities to fire waves of energy off the blade like a samurai, and Zabuza knew that no matter what anyone said about Kakashi, he was no amateur. Not so much, Zabuza. More like a duel between swordsmen, a true fight to the finish. Kakashi launched a wave of chakra from his sword the moment he finished his statement. It struck the Kubikuri Bocho hard and with a screeching noise, left a gash on the other legendary weapon. Zabuza smirked once more, his wariness overcome by his love of a true clash of blades. Alright Kakashi, let me show you how it's done. Kurenai and Naruto both watched Kushimaru cautiously, knowing this fight would most likely be a stalemate until one of the others finished their battle and came in to assist. Kushimaru, on the other hand, looked rather disinterested with his opponents. That brat Zabuza took the real game and left me with a kid and his fat material. Next time an old ally asks me for help, I'm going to sew them to my wall. The lean swordsman abruptly dashed at the two, testing to see if he would have any fun this day. Naruto responded with a volley of shuriken, while Kurenai formed a few quick hand seals. Megan, Jubaku Satsu was whispered by Kurenai before she vanished. Kushimaru had deflected all the shuriken approaching him already, before he felt his body lock up. A tree seemed to grow from the bridge and surround him, leaving only his neck and head free. Kurenai leaned forward and went to stab him with a kunai, only for Kushimaru to bring up the Nuwabari and parry her attack, diving away from her to avoid Naruto's quick attempt at a kick. You really thought a genjutsu would be able to take out someone as experienced as me? I was preparing to break at the moment you vanished. After all, the only person to ever shunshin without evidence was Uchiha Shursui, and he's dead. Kurenai hadn't really expected that to work. But without genjutsu, there wasn't much she could do against a high-level opponent. In spite of her skill, she was a rookie jounin, and hadn't trained as extensively in other combat forms. Naruto frowned at their opponent, who was clearly better than them even if he had lost a step or two from age. He formed a hand seal, and glowing lines appeared on his outfit. Kai. The blonde swordsman looked on in new interest, fuinjutsu being rather rare in his experience. Immediately, he was set to the defensive as Naruto moved at speeds more along the lines of a skilled jounin than a genin. Kushimaru used his high flexibility to weave through Naruto's attacks, before sending a thrust kick into Naruto's gut and jumping back to make some distance. Naruto quickly righted himself and set up a stance that the old swordsman found familiar. Hand held palm back in front and the other locked behind the back while the fighter stands straight up. That crazy bastard that used the Hashiman to drive the old group back used that stance. Hey kid, you don't happen to know anyone by the name of Mato? Do you? Naruto looked shocked that the enemy would talk with him like this, but decided he might as well answer. My name is Mato Naruto, son of the resplendently youthful green beast of Konoha, Mato guy. This may just be fun yet, after all the kid is too young for the gates. But he is fast and strong. Kushimaru didn't realize the mistake he had made focusing solely on the child until a field of pure darkness surrounded him, all sensation removed. Damn it. I can't believe I made a rookie mistake like that, but I can still salvage this. He began spinning his sword in front of him to deal with incoming kunai and shuriken, while simultaneously building his chakra to release this genjutsu. Kurenai was breathing heavily, the Kokwangyo no Jutsu being far more chakra intensive and less subtle than most genjutsu in Konoha's archives. It was also, fortunately, much harder to dispel, and removed all 5 senses, rather than just sight as one would expect. Now Naruto. Even he won't be able to dispel it too quickly. Naruto dashed to get behind the swordsman, his front inaccessible due to the spinning blade. Black cloth fell from under his sleeves, preparing the technique he was sure would win the fight. Sasuke and Kiba were barely able to keep from being put down by the skilled kunoichi they fought. Kiba's and Akamaru's high speed and increased senses allowed them to react fast enough to typically avoid most needles, though Akamaru was running low on chakra. Sasuke was using his Sharingan, which had gained a second tomo from the struggle, to deflect the Sanban with a kunai. "Hey Mutt, I think I know what to do." Kiba had heard Sasuke's whispered voice, understanding that a plan had finally been made. He nodded when Sasuke explained what to do, even though he found it distasteful. It was something a smart ninja would do. "Stop. We surrender already." The reverse from the earlier position of never giving up surprised Haku, but as she couldn't hear what Sasuke was saying nor had she seen him speak, she accepted their surrender. "You should have done so far earlier, but I will grace you with your lives." Haku wasn't fool enough to leave her mirrors, but she did do exactly what Sasuke was hoping for, and look him in the eye. In spite of not possessing his Sharingan long, Sasuke had read about every technique it was capable of, and hoped his plan would succeed based on his earlier test with Kiba during training. Haku was exhausted from keeping her dome up so long, and needed to get some rest or take a food pill. Her eyes shut moments after looking the Uchiha in the eye, never noticing that his 2 tomo were spinning slowly counterclockwise. The mirror dome shattered as its creator drifted into sleep, Sasuke following after from chakra exhaustion. Kiba made sure to tie up their foe before bringing Sasuke and their captive back to the remainder of their team. The ringing sound made by the clashing of Zabuza and Kakashi's blades continued unabated for the whole time Haku had her mirrors out. Kakashi didn't have the stamina that Zabuza did, but he had a far lighter weapon and his Sharingan didn't take much chakra when he wasn't using its abilities. A quick duck and another shallow cut appeared on Zabuza, who seemed to be channeling some sort of Berserker Gang abilities, and shrugged off the slew of cuts on his body, as well as the scratches adorning his sword. A backflip to gain distance, and Kakashi fired another energy wave at the monster he was fighting. It was avoided with a spin to the right. Kakashi had been injured, just as Zabuza had, a large cut across his torso that his flak jacket had kept from being too severe. And he had switched hands after 3 of his fingers broke in his right hand from Zabuza's heavy strikes. In terms of pure kenjutsu talent, Kakashi was not as good as Zabuza, but he already had a plan to win this fight. All he needed was a distraction to implement it. He weaved sideways and cut a foot off the end of Zabuza's sword by running right ten chakra through his dad's old weapon. A sound caught the attention of Zabuza's ears, and he turned his head slightly to see out of the corner of his eye what had happened. Kakashi jumped at the chance he'd been given to finally end this match of blades. He sheathed his tanto in a scabbard that had appeared on his back when he unsealed it, and used the only quick kill technique he had that didn't need hand seals to accomplish. Zabuza heard an odd sound akin to a heavy pulse mixed with high winds, and turned his head back from the ruins of Haku's jutsu just in time to see the Yondaime Hokage's famous Rasengan gunning right into his ribs. He felt a terrible pain like his flesh being ground up, hammered, and soaked in acid simultaneously, before he lost his grip on his blade and was thrown back by the force of a small explosion. He barely made it back up to his feet, and all of his ribs were most likely broken from the attack he had suffered, leaving him at his opponent's mercy. Naruto let out a shout that would most likely be the last thing Kushimaru ever heard. "Kaimon, Kai. Omote Renge." Just as Kushimaru broke the genjutsu he'd been in, he felt a devastating kick launch him into the air. The young boy that had distracted him for the woman's genjutsu wrapped him in cloth, holding it tightly enough that without his sword, which had been dropped when he'd been kicked, there was no way for him to escape. He felt himself start spinning rapidly as the high point of the arc he was in was reached. He felt his momentum shift so that his head was pointed at the ground. Naruto held on as tight as he could, not letting what he knew would happen from this technique dissuade him. The centrifugal force of the spin worked to disorient the target and to increase acceleration during the fall by drilling through the air. With as hard as he had kicked him and considering how high they were and the fact they were falling towards concrete, Kushimaru would die and Naruto himself would be in no position to move much. Naruto was surprised when he heard Kushimaru laughing one last time, and even more so that he was able to talk during this fall. "I'll see you burn in hell with me, Gaki." Naruto then heard a sizzling noise coming from Kushimaru, one he recognized from his training. "He's covered in paper bombs. Damn it, I haven't made Hokage yet, I don't want to die." Naruto knew there was little chance of him escaping from the explosion soon to happen. and only hoped that none of his fellow shinobi were in the blast range. The two blondes struck the ground with a sickening crunch, the elder shinobi's neck breaking instantly. Naruto was in a great deal of pain from the fall, but he managed to roll away from his foe's corpse shortly before the tags detonated. A bright flash and a wave of heat that seared his back coming from the crater he had just escaped. Naruto was thrown to the ground, barely maintaining consciousness, the majority of the team exhausted and badly wounded from their battle. Some, like Kurenai and Sasuke, had little in physical damage but were suffering from chakra exhaustion. Kakashi and Kiba were both out of chakra and badly injured. He still had some chakra left, but he couldn't even stand up on his own anymore. The last thing Naruto heard before blacking out was staccato clapping and a low growl. All the still conscious shinobi turned to the edge of the bridge, where Gato stood behind an army of bandit thugs. Heh, looks like the baby demon, his per ice princess, and the scarecrow geezer couldn't hack it, right boys? A resounding laugh from the mercenaries brought Kakashi's spirits down. As tired and hurt as they were, even pathetic untrained rabble like this was too much for them. What the fuck, you leprechaun bastard? How Zabuza managed that shout with the level of damage he had suffered was a mystery, but it still earned a response. I was never going to pay you, and the way things happened is better than I hoped. Now you're all so weak you won't even be able to fight back while they kill you all. I think I'll take the girls though, good-looking young women can be quite the commodity. The woman I think I'll just keep. Shivers of fear and disgust ran down the women's spines, knowing exactly what scum like him would do. Zabuza just dashed straight through the thugs with a wordless snarl, a menacing aura around him and a grinning demon looking over his shoulder. The thugs stabbed him repeatedly as he ran through them, lashing out barehanded against their ranks, smashing them with enough force to nearly liquefy their internal organs. He caught Gato as he turned and tried to run away, strangling the life out of the little pawns with a wide grin showing his sharpened teeth. His bandages having been torn by a sword blow that exposed the inside of one of his cheeks. Zabuza tossed the body of the now deceased crime lord to the side before turning back to the thugs. He took 2 steps closer to the group before he fell over dead, the internal bleeding finally bringing the fighter down. Hey, these guys killed our meal ticket, let's go take what he owes us from the town. One of the thugs said, before all of them stopped once again from fear. Naruto had somehow stood back up, a malicious red aura shaped like a fox, with one tail covering his body. He just glared at the thugs, before forming 3 hand seals, he called out in a grisly voice. Tatsu, Ushi, Tori. Suetun, Suiryu no Mugen no Mai. The thugs stared in horror as all of the water left behind by the mirrors coalesced into a single giant figure. The massive water dragon glared at the thugs with glowing red eyes, before roaring and flying at the group. It struck them 3 ranks in and killed all those in the immediate area. The mercenaries weren't out of hot water yet though, as the water quickly reformed and slammed itself into their group repeatedly. They broke ranks and fled, but none of them escaped. The dragon finally dissipated when no hostile targets remained, along with the cloak of red energy around Naruto. The entirety of Wave citizenry watched in awe as they had gathered after Tsunami, and Inari had been saved, Inari gathering them all himself. Naruto collapsed unconscious after his technique and cloak faded, Kurenai gathering him up and walking back to Tezuna's home with the rest of the group. All of them too tired to converse on the way back. Kakashi looked at Naruto worriedly every once in a while, fearing that his seal had destabilized. The rest of the genin that were conscious looked shocked by the carnage they had seen on the bridge, unable to grasp what their classmate had done. Later on that night, after she had recovered, Kurenai went back to the bridge and took the new Abari, remembering that Naruto had once mentioned wanting a sword to increase his skill set. No one knew for sure how Naruto would answer the questions the next day was doubtless to bring, all they could do was hope it was still Naruto they would be talking to tomorrow. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya.